everybody, welcome back to another video, and this is the Logitech G29 racing setup. A little bit of a backstory about why I got this wheel, and it's because during the pandemic last year when everything just started out, I got into Drive to Survive on Netflix, and by obvious reasons, big personalities, really fast cars, super high tech, and a lot of drama, and that's amazing. I've always been into F1, but I kind of fall off the wagon. I used to watch it in the past when my dad used to watch it a lot, and kind of like during the Schumacher times, and then I kind of like didn't follow it, and then Drive to Survive got me back into it, and I absolutely love it. Since then, I always wanted a racing simulator or a racing wheel with pedals, but I didn't have a console, so I didn't have anything to play a racing game on. So that's why, fast forward 6 months into the pandemic, on my birthday, September 1st, my sisters got me a PS4, and I decided to treat myself for my birthday with the Logitech G29. So I've had it for a year now. It's been absolutely amazing. I've played a lot with it, mostly F1 2020 and recently Gran Turismo Sport as well. And I've got a few things to tell you and why I think it is the best budget racing wheel to get started. So let's start with the design of the wheel. The wheel is hand stitched leather all over around it, which makes it feel like a real racing wheel or a real car wheel, which is absolutely insane. It really makes you feel like you're driving an actual car. The paddle shifters are stainless steel, which makes for a great click to it. They're really high quality and they definitely do the job. Although sometimes when you're downshifting, you can miss 1 or 2 gears, but I think that might be my problem because sometimes I click it too fast and sometimes it might just miss the click. So that's something just to keep in mind, especially when you're playing F1 2020 or any F1 game that you have to upshift or downshift pretty quickly. That's just something that I think I do. Then you have all the regular buttons that you will find on a regular PS4 controller, as well as some extra buttons that you can reprogram on any game to pretty much do anything that you want. So there are some there that I've reprogrammed for DRS, ERS and fuel management, and you can obviously do so much more with it and reprogram them to do whatever you want to, either boxed in a lap or to get you kind of like race updates or anything like that. You can really reprogram those buttons for whatever you like. The only thing I will say about these buttons is that some of them feel a little plasticky, especially like the L2, L3, R2 and R3. Those are a little bit plasticky and finicky. I'm not a big fan of them, but they still work pretty well. This wheel is compatible with a PS3, a PS4 and PC, and I believe they're still compatible with a PS5. Don't take that on me. Just make sure you do your research before. If you have a PS5 and you want this wheel, do your research just to be sure. But I'm pretty sure I've heard that when the PS5 first came out, Logitech said that the Logitech G29 will be compatible with the PS5. On the bottom of the wheel is where all cables go, the pedals, the power, and if you have, you can connect a stick shifter. And the back of the wheel looks like the front of a McLaren, if I'm honest, which is sick. Let's get into the most important part of this wheel, which is the force feedback and the full rotation of this wheel. So this wheel has 900 degrees of full rotation. You can have dual motor or force feedback, and you also have self-calibration. So that means every time you turn the console on, the wheel will self-calibrate on both directions, which is absolutely great, and as you can see, it's actually quite nice. You have these little LED lights just above the PlayStation sign, which basically works as when you're trying to either upshift or downshift on an F1 car or anything like that. It's not something you pay attention, but it's quite nice to keep an eye on it, and it's quite nice to have it because it gives you that kind of visual cue to either upshift or downshift. So the force feedback on this wheel is great. Like I say, I don't have much experience with other wheels, but I do like the force feedback on this. It really feels natural, feels real. You can definitely feel the curbs when you're going over the curbs with an F1 car, or you can definitely feel when kind of like the rear starts spinning. When you get wheel spin, you can definitely feel that it gets really loose and you can really spin out quite quick. One thing that it does is it really gets really loud when you have force feedback full on. So one thing that I noticed is I couldn't play this at night because the sound gets really, really loud from the force feedback. So one thing that I've seen on the internet and I did is pretty much just turn the force feedback down a little bit so it didn't rumble as much. So one thing that if you have the force feedback full on and you're going at top speeds, especially on a track, the Monza or Spa that you have long straights, once you get to those top speeds and you're holding that top speed for a while, you will hear this thing rumble like crazy. As you can see here, you'll see it now on the footage. So that's one thing, and it does get quite loud. If you're playing without any headphones on, it can really get a bit annoying. So that's what I did. I went into the force feedback settings, turned it down just a couple of notches, and now I can play. I still have the good force feedback, probably not as strong as with 100% obviously, but I can play without the annoying sound that it can make. So that might be another feedback that I have, is it gets too loud on force feedback things. So now let's get into the bottom half of this setup. So the pedals are great. So we have a throttle, a brake and a clutch for if you have a stick shifter and you're playing other games that require a clutch. The brake pedal is non-linear, it's quite tough. It really doesn't have a lot of travel when you're pressing on the brakes. So one thing I would recommend you is to adjust the brake sensitivity on any racing game you'll be playing, so you'll be able to hit full braking power consistently without having to kind of like push way too much or not getting that power enough. So I have to adjust it. You kind of get used to it. That's the only thing I will like a little bit better, is to have a bit more of a bit more force feedback, let's call it, on the brake pedal, because it's kind of really hard to figure it out. But after a while you get used to it, and as long as you dial it down on the brake sensitivity on the actual game, you'll be good to go. The pedals are great. They're overall really good. The only thing I have some mixed feelings around the bottom half of this setup is really the base of the pedals. This has this black plastic base. It has some spikes at the bottom to avoid kind of like slipping on the carpet, but after a few races and once you get excited, or if you kind of like come into a corner too quick, it can really slip out to the side, or it can really slip out back. I'm lucky that I have the wall really close to my desk, so I pretty much just have the pedals resting on the wall, so I can avoid that kind of sliding around. But it still happens sometimes, especially if it slides to the side. That might be the only thing I don't really like about this setup. It's just the base where the pedals are, and the carpet holder doesn't really do a very good job. But overall, still pretty good, especially if you have something behind it to hold the pedals, are still pretty solid. Another great thing about this is this whole setup, once you take it off your desk, it can really fit into a pretty much a very small box, like you can see right now. It fits there, you kind of get out of the way, especially if you're like me, that you're using your own home working space to do gaming or to do any kind of like sim racing, that you can take it off because you need to do some work and put it back on the weekends or during evenings to kind of get playing. Is quite good because it really can fit into this kind of nice box. My box is probably about 1 by 1 and it fits there well enough. Top tip to help you get this set up on any desk: if your tabletop on your desk is thicker than most desks, this wheel comes with these little kind of plugs at the back. You can actually take them off and it will give you an extra few inches to attach to any desk that are slightly thicker. I thought a few months ago when I changed to this standing desk that I had to get rid of this wheel, and I found out I can actually take this off, and I managed to at least still keep my wheel, which is great. But really, the only thing I don't like about this setup, and it's not really, it's more because I don't like the way it looks behind it, it's basically the cable management. As you can see, the cable management is not the greatest. You can see it all over the place. This is all cleaned up on my desk. I don't have anything on my desk right now, but usually when I'm not filming a video, I have my keyboard, I have a mouse, I have papers all over it. So kind of having that many cables is a bit annoying, but I still don't mind it. That'd be the only feedback, is try to get less cables or find a way to manage the cables a little better. that might be something I have to do for myself. But hey, but I think this is the best racing setup you can have if you're wanting to first get into sim racing, or just want to get the most out of racing games like I do, and all you have is a desk or your home office or a very small space. This is great. It really fits into any desk, and it fits perfectly. So that's why I love it. And it's retailing now on the Logitech website for £206, which is absolutely insane. That's super cheap, especially when it first retail for £300 or 300 plus pounds. So go get it. It really is an amazing wheel. I cannot recommend it enough. That's all from me today, guys. Remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and hit the notification bell so you're notified next time a video comes out. It will mean the world to me, and it will help your channel grow. I'll see you guys in the very next video. See ya, bye.